I am Catholic. I am preparing for college with my sights set on a PhD in theology. And up until sophomore year, it was my dream to be an Army Ranger. So naturally, STA was the perfect fit for me. Along with STA, I am blessed to have a family with a strong faith. My brother and I were given strict instructions by Archbishop Flynn to say a Hail Mary as we put our heads to our pillows every night when I was 4 and my brother 6 years old. I'm not sure about my brother, but I've been doing this religiously. My parents had raised us to be strong in our faith, encouraging us to have our own prayer lives and doing family prayers every night. They had always stressed to us to lead by example. In doing so, they had each of my siblings and I prepare a prayer set and lead the whole family on our allotted nights. I remember my parents not letting me leave their room at night until I could recite the 10 Commandments, including the laws of love amongst various other prayers. Now that it's just me at home and my parents are advanced in age, we simply do Liturgy of the Hours evening prayer. Their emphasis on faith led me to desire it more and more. While I may seem to have a more intense faith than others, I'm nothing but a speck compared to my dad and my brother. My dad is the holiest man I know, rivaling even St. John Paul II. He is a former youth minister and most people's go-to when they need someone to give a talk at a retreat. He, among other Holy of Holies, started a now region-wide summer camp called Extreme Faith Camp for youth and young adults, and a men's retreat in the Diocese of St. Cloud called Ecclesia Domestica, which means the domestic church. On top of all that, in December of 2019, God willing, he'll be ordained a deacon. Just like my dad, my brother has always been proactive in his faith, being part of core team at St. Peter's in Forest Lake, doing living stations of the cross at St. Paul's in Ham Lake, and serving on Net Ministries, and is still pursuing another year of missionary work in Australia. Their passion and love of the Lord has pushed me to better myself spiritually and as a man. For as long as I can remember, I felt a calling to the priesthood in my heart, but mostly through other people telling me I would make a great priest someday. See, 2nd through 8th grade, my dad brought me and my brother to daily mass before school every morning, assuming I woke up in time. By the time I was in 4th grade, the priest at my church invited me to start altar serving a year early. It was through this closer encounter to the Eucharist, time and time again, that I really started feeling a deeper call to the priesthood that I only recently discerned to be a calling for a theologian who forms priests rather than being one myself. I do not come from money by any means. In fact, my dad was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré in 2011, which brought my low-income family below the poverty line, where we thrived by the grace of God for 5 years, slowly crawling our way out of the depths. So coming to STA from a humble background was an experience. I can't imagine the amount of stress my parents felt through those tough times and the sacrifices they had to make to get us to where we are today. So Mom, Dad, thank you. I love you both very much.
You're welcome. We love you.
I grew up with the philosophy that God will provide, and he totally has through the generosity of others. An anonymous donor said that as long as the Leahy boys are attending presentation, they won't have to pay a dime. And our main source of food when I was a kid was donated to us by the nun at my school. And every Christmas, an envelope of cash would show up at our front step, along with allotted gifts for our whole family. Even the uniform I'm wearing right now was given to me by an alum. Needless to say, we had to make sacrifices to get by. I remember my mom saving up to take me to Goodwill to buy a suit for my 8th grade graduation that ended up being too big anyway. Going from that to Lululemon, visors, Corvettes in the parking lot, and Eli Evans, who would slip a wad of cash in my pocket every once in a while just because he could, was a bit of a culture shock. While the differences between us were vast, me and my family were welcomed here with open arms. It is this attitude of community that makes the drive from Wyoming worth it every day. Again, all of this would not have been possible without my parents and all the sacrifices they had to make throughout the years, for which I am forever grateful. I'd like you all to remember that you're going to have to hear things that you don't want to hear, and you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. But I promise you, one day, it will all make sense. Thank you, and God bless.